It's been a hot minute since Disney released another live action remake for one of its beloved animated classics. With the exception of The Jungle Book and Cinderella, every other live action has been a complete mixed bag, ranging from forgettable mediocrity to outright awfulness. Say what you will about the Lion King remake, when you look at the box office, this film took home a staggering $1.6 billion worldwide. Sure, it was a completely different time where Disney could do no wrong, but it was also a movie that didn't step too far out of line, complete with a classic rendition of Can You Feel the Love Tonight, done in the middle of the day? Sure, okay. There was some extra content with the hyenas, and the animals managed to emote as well as Amanda Stenberg in an average episode of The Acolyte, but for the most part, it was fine. Fast forward to 2024, and Disney have had a pretty rough ride of it at the box office. With the exception of Inside Out 2, a lot of Disney's recent movies have failed to break even and felt pretty forgettable. So as we reach the end of this turbulent year, all hope now rests on Mufasa the Lion King, a prequel to that aforementioned $1.6 billion behemoth that absolutely nobody asked for. Personally, I'm holding out for an origin story to Mary Poppins' umbrella, along with a look at the tailor who made Cinderella's slipper. Mufasa then plays out as a prequel to the 2019 Lion King story, with Mufasa just a cub and the world a very different place. Starving and desperate for salvation, Mufasa joins his parents as they set out to try and migrate across to a mythical land called Milele. It hasn't rained in a long time, and through the power of wish fulfillment, or dumb luck, you choose, it suddenly starts to rain. Unfortunately, it rains so much that rivers begin to fill very quickly. When Mufasa is separated from his parents thanks to a sudden flood, he's alone and lost, forced to adopt the stray moniker placed upon him by a new pride. Despite Mufasa meaning king in Swahili, he's actually just a common lion. When he washes up on shore, Mufasa is saved by a sympathetic young lion called Taka. He's the heir to the throne with genuine royal blood flowing through him, but his father rules with an iron fist and immediately shuns Mufasa when he shows up. As a result, he's forced to go live with the females, including Taka's mother. The thing is, this one change completely retcons and changes the original movie in pretty drastic ways. Remember when Scar mentioned,
"I'm afraid I'm at the shallow end of the gene pool"?
Turns out that wasn't about Mufasa at all. This also throws a lot of questions about how Scar is next in line for the throne, given the way this one ends. Spoiler alert, Mufasa survives and so does Scar, but their relationship is not in a good place by the time the final credits roll round. This also makes it rather weird that Scar refers to Simba as his nephew too. You see how one little change can completely destroy source material? But back to this story though, and Mufasa and Taka find themselves thrown into the thick of it when their land is threatened by a tribe of white lion outsiders, led by the evil, cruel Kiros. As a side note here, the film absolutely misses a trick by not throwing in a Kimber joke, given what the source material of Lion King is based on, but there we go. Regardless, Taka and Mufasa are forced to flee their homeland and go in search of a new life, which inevitably sees them cross paths with Sarabi, Zazu and Rafiki. It's here the story starts to adopt a familiar plotline as Taka grows into his villain role, while Kiros and his motley group of lions hunt Taka and Mufasa furiously. Partly for revenge, but also to avoid any potential backlash when the duo get older. In a way, the story feels like a mashup of familiar Lion King plot beats, complete with key jangling nostalgia, more on that shortly, don't worry, alongside a reworked version of The Land Before Time. The story holds very few surprises, and unfortunately is completely undermined by some utterly bizarre editing choices. You see, the story of Mufasa is actually told by Rafiki in the present, where we cut back and forth between the two timelines throughout the film. The trouble is, there's an abundance of forced humour here from Timon and Pumbaa, which completely undercuts some of the tension or drama in the main plotline. Or I guess as much tension as one could have, knowing that all the characters are going to survive and make it through to the next film. At one point we cut back to Timon and Pumbaa being, well, Timon and Pumbaa, right in the middle of Taka and Mufasa running away from Kiros and the other lions. Then we cut back again at what feels like 5 minutes later. It's such a bizarre choice, and more often than not, this jumping back and forth just doesn't work. There are little nods to the audience with moments including, "Oh, I know who Taka is," and "Wow, this story is really good, maybe cut down on the childhood trauma," which are supposed to be humorous quips, but they go down about as well as a lead balloon. At least in my theatre anyway, which was deathly silent throughout this one. It's almost as if the writers felt like they needed more humour to keep the kids invested, when in reality the dry humour of Rafiki and the eye-rolling quips from Zazu, who, let's face it, is a pale imitation of Rowan Atkinson's version from 1994, is more than enough. The story itself is pretty forgettable, to be honest, and at times feels like it borrows heavily from The Lion King's more iconic moments. For a film all about forging your own path forward and becoming a leader, Mufasa struggles to break free from the lazy, key-jangling nostalgia and playing subservient to the far superior movie that came before. Within the first 15 minutes, we get an extreme close-up shot of Mufasa looking shocked, which mirrors that of Simba in the gorge. We get a father killed and a son separated from his tribe, and we even get a reworked musical score that mirrors a stampede scene. That's before mentioning Mufasa clinging to a single tree branch sticking out the water, and that's just the first 10 minutes of the movie. All of this, and I haven't even mentioned the callbacks, spaced out lazily through the movie to make you remember the original. Zazu has a morning report for everyone at one point, Rafiki utters "it is time" at different intervals, and of course we get an origin to Taka holding onto Mufasa's paws, twice. Sure, one could argue this is par the course for an origin story like this, but the way it's implemented here, it feels like a lazy way of riding the coattails of the majestic animated movie, which is far superior to this. Thankfully, where the film slips up with its narrative, it more than makes up for with its visuals, because damn, this movie is absolutely gorgeous to look at. The animation team have completely outdone themselves with this one, and although the animals still struggle to emote the same way hand-drawn animation allows, the landscapes and level of detail is staggering. We get a good deal of extreme close-up shots here, allowing us to see the photorealistic fur, the gorgeous water effects, and, more significantly, incredibly realistic snow. As anyone who's worked in digital art will tell you, snow is one of the hardest elements to get right. Here though, Mufasa pulls it off effortlessly. Seeing chunks of snow on Mufasa's fur, or the reflection as he stares through thick chunks of ice, is honestly incredible, and for that alone, this movie is designed to be marvelled at on the big screen. Of course, no film would touch the majesty of the original Lion King, but the musical score here is, well, it kind of feels like a pale imitation of the first score. We get a song about how I always wanted a brother, which feels like a reworked version of I Can't Wait to Be King. And we also get a love song between Sarabi and Mufasa called Tell Me It's You, instead of Simba and Nala's Can You Feel the Love Tonight. It's not bad, but it is a bit of a mixed bag too, and I'd argue it's pretty much on par with Moana 2's soundtrack. Ultimately, Mufasa the Lion King fails to justify its inception. It's another live action movie that has no business being made other than to make money. The story is cobbled together from better influences, and it's not helped by some shoddy pacing too. It's not the worst film you'll watch this year, but it's also hard to recommend beyond the initial visual spectacle. If you're wondering what to watch at the box office, save your money and watch Sonic 3 instead. Thanks for watching, and do let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like or subscribe to the channel, your support is very much appreciated. I'm Greg Wheeler, and from all of us over here at The Review Geek, we'll see you on the next video.